Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Right now I'm in Boulevard to downtown Port. What's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling. I'd like to welcome everybody back to the broadcast. I want to first of all take the opportunity to thank you all for joining me on this Memorial Day holiday. And this is a day that I would, personally like to dedicate and thank the men who have fought and died in all of the wars that our country has fought. I do understand that typically the American Memorial Day weekend is reserved for those men who fought and died in these foreign wars, and Armed Forces Day is for celebrating those who are currently wearing the uniform. And of course, Veterans Day is celebrating those who wore the uniform and hung the uniform up. I do understand that. But there are just some stories that need to be told over and over again and whenever possible. And these are the stories of courage and valor of these men who came in just a few generations before ours. The men that I'm talking about are your fathers, they're your grandfathers, and they're also your brothers and your uncles. And we need to make sure that we acknowledge them. So I want to make sure we do that. Now, I can tell you now, I can put a story on about the latest rapper. I can put a story on about Kevin Samuels. Or I can put a story on about the haters and the foolishness that goes on. And I'll have 1,000 people in the chat room. But when I talk about the valor and courage of the Armed Forces of the United States, I don't expect a large crowd. But I do this because this is what is necessary. Courage is taught. Men need examples of courage. Men need to know what other men have done in similar situations, how they rose to the occasion to protect themselves, protect their country, and protect the man next to them in that foxhole. And there's no better place that we can learn courage than from the example of our war fighters. From Vietnam to World War II to Iraq to Afghanistan. What we have to do is find the examples of fighting men and the courage that they utilize and allow that to motivate us and get us through our days. Those days when we have things that we feel are insurmountable, we must realize there are men who have had far more exceedingly challenging events to overtake. Circumstances that looked insurmountable, and the courage that they presented at that time. Young men barely out of high school, men still teenagers, have exhibited more courage in certain circumstances than I've seen in my entire life from grown adult men. So what I'd like to do at this time is I'd just like for everybody to hit a number 1 button for the men and women, the fighting men specifically of the armed services. Let's do that. Hit the number 1 button for the United States Army. Hit the number 1 button for the United States Navy. Hit the number 1 button for the United States Air Force. And of course, last but definitely not least, the tip of the spear, hit the #1 button for the United States Marine Corps. All of my followers here understand that although I may be categorized as what you all like to call a high value man, something I didn't know I was, I support and promote truck drivers on this page. I support and promote plumbers on this page, electricians, construction workers, the guy that's on the side of the road with the orange hat on and the vest, the guy that's making sure your sewage is going to keep flowing, the guy that's at the top of that skyscraper and that crane. That's who I support. I support the police officers, the firemen, the hardworking blue collar men that keep this country going. This is who we support. This is who we appreciate. And above all, we appreciate the fighting men of the United States Armed Forces. And just because I don't mention the Coast Guard doesn't mean I don't think about you. And you're not missing. Just because I don't say Army Reserves, that doesn't mean I'm not thinking about you. Hell, I'm talking about the young kids in ROTC right now, the cadets over in the military schools, the post office workers, all you guys, anybody who helps keep this country going and what makes this country great. You can say a lot about the United States, but what you can't say is that this isn't the greatest empire that has ever existed on this planet. And specifically to Black Americans, especially Black men. It has been your blood, your sweat, and your tears, sometimes involuntary, but more often than that, voluntary, that has helped keep this country going. So you have a stake in the United States of America, a blood stake in it. This is your country. You have fought for it in each and every war. Even before this country was formed, you were fighting for it. The Revolutionary War, you fought in it. The War of 1812, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Iraq 1, 2, and Afghanistan. You were there for each and every one of them. You should be proud of your heritage that you have as fighting men in this country, and it should not be overlooked. This is what we're doing. This is what we appreciate. And this is what we're going to do today. That said, I'd like to first start off and bring you guys up to date on a gentleman that I got to know some time back. And what we call him here on this page is 50 Cal Hal. And you guys may know the story of 50 Cal Hal, but I'm going to take the opportunity to read the story to you. First of all, his brother's real name is Dwight Hal Johnson. Now, the thing about him, his first thing you got to understand is he's from Detroit, right? He's from the city of Detroit. Shout out to Detroit. Is Detroit here in the house? Let me know if Detroit is here. That's what I want to know. Let's start with that. All right. How many veterans do we have in the chat room? Let's start with that. How many veterans do we have here? Where are all the veterans at? How many men do we have served in the armed forces here? Where you guys at? Let your presence be known. Let me know what branch of the military you served. And we're going to definitely give you guys a big acknowledgement. But I want to tell you guys about Sergeant Dwight Hal Johnson. He was born in 1947 and died in 1971. He was a native of Detroit, Michigan. He received the Medal of Honor for his actions in January 1968 in the Vietnam War. Now, here's the thing about him. This is the brother was drafted into the United States Army. He was a member of Company B, 1st Battalion, 69th Armored 4th Infantry Division, and he is a recipient of the Medal of Honor, as I said before. And I'm going to read what is written about him. For conspicuous gallantry, at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Specialist 5 Johnson, a tank driver with Company B, was a member of a reaction force moving to aid other elements of his platoon. which was in heavy contact with battalion-sized North Vietnamese force. Specialist Johnson's tank, upon reaching the point of contact, threw a track and became immobilized. So what does that mean? 50 Cal Hal was in a tank, and the tank, as you guys know, on the side of it has these tracks to keep it going. It threw a track, so he was stuck. Now, these boys know how to repair these things, and they can do it out in the field, but it was stuck right now, and they had a battalion size of North Vietnamese forces, which means they could have been regular or they could have been the irregular forces. Because remember, in Vietnam, not only were our soldiers and Marines fighting the North Vietnamese regular army, they were also fighting what would be considered a militia. And so you don't know who was coming at you. But the bottom line is they were a battalion size, and that's a whole lot of people. So here's what 50 Cal Hal did while he was in his tank. Realizing that he could do no more as a driver, tank driver from Detroit, he climbed out of the vehicle, armed only with a .45 caliber pistol. This is all he had. You're going to run up against a battalion of enemy soldiers with a .45. Despite intense hostile fire, Specialist Johnson killed several enemy soldiers before he had expended his ammunition. Returning to his tank through a heavy volume of anti-tank rockets, small arms, and automatic weapons fire, he obtained a submachine gun with which he continued his fight against an advancing enemy. Armed with his weapon, Specialist Johnson again braved deadly enemy fire to return to the center of the ambush site, where he courageously eliminated more of the determined foe. Engaged in extremely close combat, when the last of his ammunition was expended, he killed an enemy soldier with the stock of his submachine gun. Now weaponless, Specialist Johnson ignored the enemy fire around him, climbed into his platoon sergeant's tank, extricated a wounded crew member, and carried him to an armored personnel carrier. He then returned to his same tank and assisted firing the main gun until it jammed. In a magnificent, listen to this, in a magnificent display of courage, Specialist Johnson exited the tank and, again armed only with a .45 caliber pistol, engaged several North Vietnamese troops in close proximity to his vehicle, fighting his way through devastating fire and remounting his own immobilized tank. He remained fully exposed to the enemy as he bravely and skillfully engaged them with the tank's externally mounted .50 caliber machine gun, where he remained until the situation was brought under control. Specialist Johnson's profound concern for his fellow soldiers at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty are keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Army. I want you guys to really take that in. Do you hear this is why we call him 50 Cal Hal. This man is stuck, surrounded by enemies, hopped out of his tank, didn't run, jumped out with a .45 in his hand, start blasting, surrounded. You got 1,000 men surrounding you, shooting at you. Bam, everything, killed several enemies. All right? They're shooting at him with rockets and small arms and automatic fire. He's standing out there. He got hold of a submachine gun. That's what he got. M16, most likely. And started letting the enemy have it in full sign and light, in full sight of all his enemies. Let him have it. Then jump back in. When he ran out of ammo, beat another enemy to death with the butt of his gun. Didn't run. Mind you, this is a man who did not sign up to go to the military. What did he do? He got drafted into the military. And he went, and look how well he fought. After he beat that guy with death, beat that enemy soldier to death. He then returned to his tank, got one of his buddies out of there, helped fire the main gun until it was out, then got one of his wounded crew members out of there and carried him to an armored personnel carrier. That's for safety purposes. Took him to safe, and then instead of hopping on there, getting the ride back to base, he jumped back into the fight. He jumped back into the fight. Not only did he jump back in, he went to the center of the fight, okay, with his 45 caliber handgun and shot some more North Vietnamese at close range. They were close to the vehicle. We're talking 10, 15 feet away. This is 5 yards for the football players. And then guess what? After that, he still wasn't finished. He went, got stood on his tank with the 50 caliber. You guys know what a 50 cal looks like? Who knows what a 50 caliber looks like? It's a long gun. And the shells are huge. Let me let you guys see what he was pulling. So you can see what this man did, fully exposed. In order to pull a tank like that, in order to, let me show you what it looked like, what he would have looked like doing this. Now, he wouldn't have looked exactly like this, but I'm going to show you kind of so you can take a look. If I can pull this doggone thing up. But the bottom line is, y'all, let me see here. Let me know if you can hear me. Guys, if you can hear me, hit the #1 button. If you can hear me, hit the #1 button. I need to know. I'm pulling this up now. All right. And this is a member of the United States Army. This is what a 50 caliber machine gun looks like. Well, this is more of a modern version of it, but that's it right there. So he stood up on that tank and he blew his, and here's another better look at it, but it shoots out these 50 caliber shells and he was running that at close range. This is how you protect your armored vehicles and your tanks, is you got an external gun along with the big gun. So this is what this brother did. This is what 50 Cal Hal did. And there's nothing we can say that can thank him for his sacrifice. I want y'all to take a good look at this brother from Detroit City, Motown. And this man can be any one of our fathers. So you guys don't understand what these by going to the what they had to see. Dwight Hal Johnson, imagine the courage he did when he was only 23 years old when he died. Okay? He was only 23. So he was 23 years old exhibiting this type of courage. Because this happened in he was awarded the Medal of Honor in 1968. So he was only 20 years old when he did all that. This brother right here, look at him. This is what that black man did. This is what that soldier in the United States Army did. So we want to thank him for that on this Memorial Day. We want to thank him for giving his life while in uniform, or giving his life and fighting as he did. So we appreciate him. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you for what you've done. Appreciate that. So next up, so let's get that shout out in the chat room. Make sure you guys say shout out to 50 Cal Hal, Dwight Hal Johnson. I've never heard of a movie about this man. I think it would be something important. Now, the next person I want to acknowledge is someone I personally just have come to admire. Is this gentleman? His name is John Canley. His rank was Sergeant Major, and he's a Marine. I don't say he was a Marine. I say he is a Marine, because what I've quickly learned about Marines is that once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. So shout out to the Marine Corps. Are there any guys in the Marine Corps here? Where are the Marine Corps? Is the Marine Corps present in the chat room? If the Marine Corps is here, you let me know you're here. I want to know if the Marine Corps is present in the chat room. I know the Army is present. Is the Marine Corps present in the chat room? Because we're going to talk about one of your own. Now, here's the thing about him. John Canley was born December 20th, 1937. And he just recently passed on May 11, 2022. So he just recently passed. So at the time when we first talked about him, he was still alive, and I hope that his family was able to convey our appreciation for him. He was a United States Marine and recipient of the United States military's highest honor, the Medal of Honor, for his actions on January and February 1968 during the Battle of Wei. At the time, this is a famous war, by the way, y'all. Okay, the Battle of Wei City. At the time, it was a running battle, a moving battle. At the time of his action, Canley was the gunnery sergeant with Company A, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. Canley was originally awarded the Navy Cross, but this was upgraded to the Medal of Honor, which was presented to him on October 17, 2018. Canley was born in Caledonia, Arkansas on December 20th, 1937, and was raised in nearby El Dorado. In 1953, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps from Little Rock, Arkansas, and retired in 1998. On the morning of January 31st, 1968, Company A, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, was loaded onto trucks and sent to reinforce the United States and the South Vietnamese forces under siege in Hue. As the convoy approached the southern suburbs of the city, they began to come under increased sniper fire. In one village, the troops dismounted and cleared the houses on either side of the main street before proceeding. The Marine convoy stopped several times to eliminate resistance in heavy house-to-house and street-to-street fighting before proceeding again. During this fighting, the company commander, Captain Gordon Batchelor, was wounded, and Gunnery Sergeant Canley assumed command of the company, and he and Sergeant Alfredo Cantu Gonzalez led the Marines in the defense of convoy, actions for which Gonzalez would later posthumously be awarded the Medal of Honor. At about 15:15, which is about 3:15 in the afternoon, after bloody fighting, the Marines managed to make their way towards the besieged Military Assistance Command Vietnam, the MACV compound. Canley was awarded the Navy Cross in 1970. Sergeant Major Canley retired from the Marine Corps. Now, here's the thing you guys don't understand, okay? This man was so beloved by his enlisted men. He would literally stand up, and when the machine guns were fighting and the enemy was shooting at him, he said, if they don't get me in the first 30 seconds, I'm not going to die today. And I have video footage of this from his guys talking about just how courageous he was. Imagine guns and bombs and shots firing all around you, and you just standing out there barking out orders to your guys. And they're looking up at you like this man is not afraid. And so they looked up to him like they loved him because of that. This is the courage that this man put forward for them to see. This is the example of him. Look him up. There's stuff all over the internet about John L. Connolly or Sergeant Major John L. Connolly. This is the type of courage. He didn't duck. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He was a real hardcore Marine, but he loved his enlisted men. So for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his own life, above and beyond the call of duty, and actions against the enemy while serving as a company gunnery sergeant, Company A, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division from January 31st to February 6, 1968, in the Republic of Vietnam. Company A fought off multiple vicious attacks as it rapidly moved along the highway towards Hue City to relieve friendly forces that were surrounded by enemy forces. So you got your friendly forces are surrounded. They need backup. Now they could at any point could allow themselves to say, no, we can't make it through, and allow themselves to get bogged down. And then guess what happens? Your allies are destroyed now. Your allies are killed off because they're surrounded. They had them surrounded. So despite being wounded in these engagements, Gunnery Sergeant Canley repeatedly rushed across fire-swept terrain to carry his wounded Marines to safety. This is a sergeant running in there, getting his guys and bringing them back to safety. After his commanding officers were severely wounded, Gunnery Sergeant Canley took command and led the company into Hue City. at Way City, caught in deadly crossfire from enemy machine gun positions. He set up a base of fire maneuver with a platoon and a flanking attack that eliminated several enemy positions. He swept them out of there, retaining command of the company for 3 days. He led attacks against multiple enemy fortified positions while routinely braving enemy fire to carry wounded Marines to safety. This man put his own life into safety. Not only did he command, but he also he put his own life in jeopardy, something he didn't have to do. That's courage. And that's something that we can learn here. This is real courage right here. If this man can do that, there's nothing you can't do. Thank you so much, Project 8020. Appreciate you, bro. On February 4th, he led a group of Marines into enemy-occupied building in Way City. He moved into the open to draw fire, located the enemy, eliminated the threat, and expanded the company's hold on the building room by room. Basically, what he's saying is he moved himself into a line of fire so that his Marines, he acted as a target, as a guinea pig, so that as bait, so the enemy would shoot at him, so his Marines could then shoot at them. This is a wonderful man that we're looking at here. How many Marines did he save? How many Americans did he save by putting his life in danger? This is what we're dealing with. This is the sort of bravery that we need to always recall and remember. This is who we are. As modern men, we've been castrated, right? We've been told that we're soft and we're weak. This is what we've been told. We've been told that we're not this and we're not that. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but Gunnery Sergeant Canley, he wasn't a big man. You hear that? But he was a courageous man. It's not the size of the dog, it's the fight in the dog. And we can see that this Gunnery Sergeant had a lot of fight in him, and we appreciate him. Gunnery Sergeant Canley then gained position above the enemy strong point and dropped in a large satchel and charge that forced the enemy to withdraw. This guy was a terror to the enemy. My God, on February 6th, during a fierce firefight at a hospital compound, Gunnery Sergeant Canley twice scaled a wall. Listen to this, y'all. This man climbed up a wall in full view of the enemy to carry wounded Marines to safety. You hear what he did? He literally climbed up a wall with his guys, with his fallen Marines, to take them to safety. By his undaunted courage, selfless sacrifice, and unwavering devotion to duty, Gunnery Sergeant Canley reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. My God, God bless the United States Marine Corps. How about that, y'all? Now, I'm gonna talk to you guys about another man that I like him. So let's make sure before we leave, y'all put Gunnery Sergeant Canley. Make sure y'all put him in there in the chat room. Where the Marines at? Where the Marines at? Shout out to Sergeant Canley. These Marines, man, it's a special group of men. It's a special group of men that consider themselves Marines. But that's no taking away from anybody else. I want to simplify to the Marines. That's right, man. Shout out to all the Marines. I want to talk to you guys about a special kind of soldier, though. This gentleman right here. His name is Jorge Otero Barreto. Now, this guy right here, they called him Sergeant Rock. He's 85. He's still alive. Now, before I go too deep into him, he enlisted in the United States Army, and he served 5 tours of duty in Vietnam. Let me run that back to you guys. This man served 5 tours of duty in Vietnam. 5 tours, not one. 5 tours of duty in the United States Army, in the Vietnam War. He's from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico. You hear me? The years he served from 1959 to 1970. He's a sergeant first class. His unit, 101st Airborne, 25th Infantry, 82nd Airborne, 173rd Airborne Brigade Combat Team. Did y'all hear 5 tours of duty? 5 tours of duty. So let's hear a little bit about him, because I think it's important. He was named Jorge, or George, after the first president of the United States. Let's hear about him. From 1961 to 1970. So he was, listen, do you hear me? So he was in Vietnam for 9 years. Fought 9 years. I've heard stories about this guy. You know, and I'm telling you, he's something else. Otero Barato served 5 tours in Southeast Asia, starting as an advisor who helped train the Vietnamese troops. According to the documentary Brave Lords, Otero Barato served in various military units during his military career. He served in the 101st Airborne, the 125th Infantry Division, Tropic Lightning. He also served in the 82nd Airborne, the 173rd Airborne Brigade. He participated in 200 combat missions. He spent 9 years in Vietnam, not just in the military, 9 years in Vietnam, and served 200 combat missions, and was wounded 5 times, and was awarded 38 military decorations. Among his many decorations, 2 Silver Stars, 5 Bronze Stars with Valor, 4 Army Commendation Medals, 5 Purple Hearts. This man got 5 Purple Hearts and 5 Air Medals. Referred to as Sergeant Rock, Otero Barreto has been called the most decorated Puerto Rican veteran, and media and some organizations have called him the most decorated soldier in the Vietnam War. I can believe that. I can believe that. Let's read a little bit about him, okay? I want you guys to hear him. Otero Barreto earned both his Silver Stars in his first months of 1968, a period dominated by the Tet Offensive. So basically what happened was the Vietnamese launched, it was launched on January 3rd, 1968 by forces of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese People's Army of Veteran. They basically decided to attack all the American strongholds at once. Call that the Tet Offensive. A member of Company A, 1st Battalion Airborne 502 Infantry, assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, 2nd Brigade. Otero Barreto won his first Silver Star in action on the 17th of February near Quang Tre. The brigade was part of the Operation Jeb Stuart, while the second came north on Way on May 1st as part of the Operation Carentan, the second. During the 17th February fight, Otero Barreto's unit was operating near Quang Tre when they encountered concealed enemy positions and came under heavy fire. Then a staff sergeant, Otero Barreto, took control of the machine gun. According to the Silver Star citation, the gunner had been wounded and the assistant gunner killed, and covered the withdrawal of his platoon until he expended all his. You hear what this man did? Basically, y'all go, I got this fight. He just fought all the enemies by himself until his bullets ran out. That's what he did. Wounded during the fight, he also organized the unit's orderly withdrawal from the area. You hear that? Y'all go, I'm going to fight all these enemies while y'all run. Go back there. I'm going to reorganize. When I get back there, we'll reorganize. We'll come back in the fight. Right now, y'all need a break. So I'm going to fight all of our enemies right now. This is what this guy did. His second Silver Star was awarded less than 3 months later, on May 1st. And it came during the Operation of Carentan in north of Way. Still with Company A, although promoted to platoon sergeant, Otero Barreto's unit was occupying defensive positions near a village when they came under attack. According to the award citation, the attackers were part of the 8th Battalion, 90th North Vietnamese Army Regiment, and were trying to break through the cordon established around the village. The attacks began at 4:15 a.m., that's 4:15 in the morning, and after 3 assaults failed, the NVA fell back into the village. According to the award citation, Ontero Barreta led his squad into the village, neutralizing several defensive positions in the process, and positioned his squad to provide cover fire to the rest of the company in advance. Ontero Barreta later earned a Bronze Star with Echo Company's recon platoon on December 3rd, 1968. Here's what y'all don't understand. Like, I'm talking to you guys about what Vietnam looked like, but let me kind of show you guys what Vietnam looked like at that time. You know, this is not something that this is not some wide open field. This is not some video game. You're talking about dense forest. You're talking about young guys walking through dense forest, enemies all around you. You got you're surrounded by this forest and you can't see anything. This is what these guys were walking through. You got booby traps everywhere. You got enemies popping up everywhere. They know the terrain. You don't know the terrain. And on top of that, they had holes in the ground. Like literally, they would pop up out of holes in the ground because they had underground tunnels. The Vietnamese had fought the French. They fought they fought the French. They fought the Russians. They damn near fought everybody. And so they had been fighting wars for centuries. The Chinese, they fought everybody. So this is what this looked like. It was hot. You got mosquitoes out there. Some of you guys, you need a seat at the barbecue. Yeah, some of y'all was sitting down at the barbecue. Imagine being a young 19-year-old man walking through this. And now picture the same guy, you're excelling around each one of these corners. You know, around each, this is what the North Vietnamese jungle looked like. You see? This is what our guys were dealing with. This is what our young men were dealing with. It's courage just to step out there. And for Jorge Ontero to go back to fighting that war for 9 years, man. 9 years, 5 tours of duty. It's a bad man right here, man. And he's 85 years old right now. He has some videos up, a couple of little videos. I'm gonna see if I can find one for you guys to check out. But this guy, man, you should hear him. He said once, and I checked out some of his stuff. This is him at this age. That's him right there. Still a Marine. You know, I'm sorry, not a Marine. He's sergeant, Army, still a soldier. But the thing about him is, he said his he didn't even bother checking the mail. This is not even something he was concerned about. He didn't check the mail. He didn't worry about the mail. He didn't care if anybody was writing him. He didn't want to know what was going on for Christmas. He was there to fight a war, and that's what he was doing. This is who this guy is. Let me see if I can get a little bit of his. I don't want to. I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit of his video up for you guys. But this is this guy. Let me see if it'll play. If y'all with me, hit the number 1 button. If you appreciate this, hit the number 1 button, guys.
You know that the man was a killing machine. I mean, he said in order to fight a tiger and kill a tiger, you got to become a tiger. And it's so true. You know? But yet, you know, deep inside, he had a heart. You know what he does now? He spends his days helping other veterans with their benefits.
And you guys are saying you can't hear anything. Let me know if you can't hear anything. I want y'all to hear what he's saying. If you can't hear anything, let me know. I'll try to reset this for you guys. Is muted? Okay, hold on a minute. We're gonna run it back. We got time. It's just us here, fellas. This is just us. You know, I know we got a lot of KS fans. This is what we do on this page. Let's listen. Let me know if you can hear.
We have that within us. We have that within us, and you know, it was part of what we took to and that's what got us through.
Is the sound back?
And you know, the ones of us that survived, that's how we got through. You know, we had to develop that guerrero mentality. You know, and that guerrero mentality meant that you do whatever you have to do to survive. And watching the enemy die, it was hard in the beginning. But you know what? They were out hunting you. You hunt them. They die. That's the enemy. It don't mean nothing. And that was something I used to say to myself all the time. I said, don't mean nothing. Don't mean a damn thing, man. And even after a while, it got to the point where, you know, when I saw my buddies die, you know, the guys that watched my back and I watched their back, and they ended up 6 feet under, and watching them die, and you know, you would say to yourself, don't mean nothing. Don't mean a damn thing, because that was the only way to survive, man. That was that warrior mentality where, you know, you just kept going forward. You wanted to survive. You wanted to get back home. I wanted to come home and eat some of that arroz con habichuela that my mother made, man, you know? And so that was the mentality you had to adopt, you know? And this coming from a people who were a peaceful people. You know? I was born in Guayana. I was born in Puerto Rico. I was raised here, but I was born there. And, you know, you got that brave blood in you, you know? Columbus, when he got to Puerto Rico, he screwed everything up, you know? The Arawaks and the Taínos, they were peaceful people, man. Land of the noble and brave lord. And he screwed things up. They decimated us. I'm sure that those Indios, they developed the brave lord mentality and the guerrero mentality, and they fought back, you know, to the end. And I think, you know, the fact that Julio Otero says, I was a guerrero, I was a warrior, you know, he's still doing it, you know, in a different way. You know, it's a reflection of some of Boricua. Boricua means brave lord. You take guerrero and you mix it all in there, and we're people who, you know, we don't take shit from nobody. You know, we'll love you to death, and we'll give the shirts off our backs for you, but don't mess with us. We're brave lords.
Yeah.
Boricua.
So big shout out to oh, this is him right here. I'm sorry, you guys. Give me a minute. Give me 1 minute. This is him. I'm gonna let him talk. He speaks Spanish, but let me see. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear this. Let me know if you can hear it, guys.
You want to talk about Rambo, man? You talk about Jorge Otero Barreto from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico. That man, most decorated soldier of the Vietnam War.
No sound. Give me a minute. I'll fix it. There we go. Hold on. Let me get this. Whenever you guys don't hear the sound, because I'm clicking a lot of buttons and stuff, so let me know if you can hear it. All right, let's go. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yo era, como dicen por ahí, expendable.
You want to talk about Rambo, man? You talk about Jorge Otero Barreto from Vega Baja, Puerto Rico. That man,
most decorated soldier of the Vietnam War. 5 Purple Hearts, man. And God knows how many silver stars, bronze stars, and air medals. He did it all. But whoever heard about it?
My old lady had to go to the Red Cross, gentlemen, many times, because I was not writing. I didn't have no time to write, son. I had time to fight. I was fighting the Viet Cong and BC. I don't have time for what you want. I'm going to tell you about the letters because I didn't write. I was not able to sit down and say, dear wife, I love you a lot. Because I was a warrior. A warrior don't love nobody. A warrior don't trust nobody.
Woo! So there's some red pill for you. You heard what he said? He said my wife had to go to the Red Cross all the time to to ask me to write. He said, I don't have time to write nobody. I'm fighting the Viet Cong. That's a red pill for your ass right there, man. Shout out to Sergeant Jorge Otero Barreto. We're going to move on now to the next one. Big shout out to him. So, the courage to go back to this war. Remind you, the Vietnam War was not a war that was very popular in the 1960s and 70s. It's only now in the 21st century that people of my generation truly appreciate what those men did. So, John Canley, Sergeant Canley, 50 Cal Hal, thank you so much. Sergeant Jorge, thank you so much. We appreciate what you did. And we wanted to make sure we acknowledge them. Now I want to go on to another person who I feel is special, who we haven't talked much about in history. And this is Henry Johnson. I'm going to go on to him next. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we'll be right
now,
back.
I'm in Boulevard Square in El Centro, which is the downtown portion of Bogota, Colombia. And right behind me is the basically just like the Justice Department. It's the place where all the Supreme Court justices in Colombia are. So Pablo had been, the U.S., United States, and the Colombian government have been working together, and they gathered a bunch of evidence on him, and they had enough evidence to send him packing to the United States. In other words, he was going to be extradited. So what he did was he struck a deal with the guerrillas and had them invade this place and take over and burned up all the evidence. Yeah, so Pablo, can't escape it, brother. He's off the chain. Well, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead on out, and that right there is the Congress building. It's a beautiful square. It's a beautiful country.
All right, you guys, that was a little commercial break. If you guys appreciate the commercials, you appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you hit the #1 button. Show your appreciation. Again, it's not going to be a whole lot of people in here talking about this, but I know my veterans will appreciate this when they see us on a rebroadcast. I know those men who served in the United States military, whatever branch, I know you'll appreciate this. You need to be acknowledged for what you've done in your sacrifice. And so, that's why we're doing this. Modern men need to look at the men, their contemporaries, and look at the men of the past and see what they've accomplished. And so that's why these are examples of heroism and bravery that can't be replicated anywhere else. Now, what I want to do at this time is I want to go ahead and have a conversation about Henry Johnson. Now, William Henry Johnson is a famous soldier from World War I. And they end up calling him, I think they call him Black Death or something like that. Let me tell you what this guy did. So his name was Private Henry Johnson, and he's distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and going above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a member of Company C in the 369th Infantry Regiment, 93rd Division, American Expeditionary Forces, doing combat operations against the enemy on the front lines of the Western Front in France on May 15, 1918. So this is World War I, World War I. Private Johnson and another soldier were on sentry duty at the Ford outpost when they received a surprise attack from a German raiding party consisting of at least 12 soldiers. What does that mean? They're out there on point, they're guarding. You see anything, throw up a flare or a smoke signal or something like that, right? So what happens? There's a sneak attack. 12 soldiers run up on them. 12 Germans run up on them while under intense enemy fire. And despite receiving significant wounds, Private Johnson mounted a brave retaliation, resulting in several enemy casualties. When his fellow soldier was badly wounded, Private Johnson prevented him from being taken prisoner by German forces. Private Johnson exposed himself to grave danger by advancing from his position to engage an enemy soldier in hand-to-hand combat. You got one man fighting 12, and he wouldn't let them take his buddy. They wouldn't let him take his battle buddy and take him prisoner. That's Private Johnson exposed himself to grave danger by advancing from his position to engage an enemy soldier in hand-to-hand combat, wielding only a knife, and gravely wounded himself. Private Johnson continued fighting and took his bolo knife and stabbed it through an enemy soldier's head. Displaying great courage, Private Johnson held back the enemy force until they retreated. So you got one man who fought 12 and made them quit. I think they came up with his name. They called him like the Black Death or something like that. The Germans had a name for this guy. And I'm going to look it up real quick. But the brother, Henry Johnson, look this young brother up, man. Look at this man up. He fought 12 people. This young black man from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, fought in a foreign country, fought 12 people and fought them all back. 12 soldiers, fought them all back. This is who he was. And yeah, I think that the Germans came up with a nickname for him. Henry suffered 21 wounds and rescued a soldier while repelling an enemy raid in the Argonne Forest in 1988, but he died 11 years later. That's right. They call him Black Death. That was his nickname, Black Death. That's what the Germans named him. Black Death, they called him the Harlem Terminator. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. He went in as a sergeant, and he was in the National Guard. So shout out to all the National Guard. Medal of Honor, both the United States and France gave him an award. Now, the Cross de Guerra is basically the Cross of War, and the Medal of Honor was awarded to him also. This is what the brother looked like. This is what Henry Johnson looked like right here. So I mean, so shout out to him and his family. Thank you so much. Another brother I want to talk about is Carl Brashear, Master Chief Petty Officer. Some of you guys may know of him. You probably saw the movie that Cuba Gooding played. Now, he is he won the Navy and Marine Corps Medal Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medals and whatnot. Now, he was a Navy diver, and his heroism is just astounding. Okay. So in January 1966, in an accident now known as the Palermo incident, a B-28 nuclear bomb was lost off the coast of Palermo, Spain, after two United States Air Force aircraft of the Strategic Command, the B-52G Stratus Fortress bomber and the KC-135 Stratotanker aerial refueling aircraft collided during an aerial refueling. Brashear was serving aboard the USS Hoist at ARS-40 when it was dispatched to find and recover the missing bomb for the Air Force. The warhead was found after 2.5 months of searching for his service in helping to retrieve the bomb. Brashear was later awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, the highest the Navy award for non-combat heroism. During the bomb recovery operations on March 23rd, 1966, a line used for towing broke loose, causing a pipe to strike Brashear's left leg below the knee, nearly shearing it off. He was evacuated to Torringen Air Base in Spain, then to the United States Air Force Hospital at West Baden Air Force in Germany, and finally to the Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia. Beset with persistent infection and necrosis, his lower leg was eventually amputated. Brashear remained at the Naval Regional Medical Center in Portsmouth from 1966 until 1967. recovering and rehabilitating from amputation. From March 1967 to 1968, Brashear was assigned to the Harbor Clearance Unit 2 diving school, preparing for a return to full active duty in diving. In 1968, after a long struggle, Brashear was the first amputee diver to be recertified as a United States diver. In 1970, he became possibly the first African-American master diver, debated between him and John Henry Turpin, and served 9 more years beyond that, achieving the rating of Master Chief's boatswain mate in 1971. Brashear was motivated by his beliefs that it is not a sin to get knocked down. It's a sin to stay down. And I ain't going to let nobody steal my dream. So here's what you got to understand. The brother, first of all, he had to fight to get. The Army and the military had just Harry S. Truman basically desegregated the United States military. There was an incident where a military man who came home from World War II was beaten and severely. And Truman, I believe, he desegregated the military because of it. They said, we got to get these guys have fought and killed in for our country. They deserve rights, period. And so what ended up happening was they desegregated the military. And this brother right here, Brother Brashear, was one of the first ones to go in there. So now, not only are they in the military, because they were in the military, they had us doing cooking and cleaning and stuff like that. But here you got somebody who says, I want to be a Navy diver. So he had hell to pay, right? And he turned out to be excellent at what he did. Then, in recovering a nuclear bomb that fell at the bottom of the ocean, he went down there and lost his leg. And they said, well, your career is over. You see what I'm saying? And he said, no, I'm coming back. He rehabilitated himself and served another 9 years after that. It's an amazing story. The courage, the self. So it's not just about killing. It's about the courage that this man exhibited. This man who we can all look to and say, man, that looks like our dad. Wow, that guy looks like our grandpa. He's only 75. So he's the age of some of our fathers right now. And this man is still alive. Thank God. But this is the heroism. This is the heroism that these men have exhibited. And these are examples of courage for all men. You got John Canley, who jumped in the line of fire. You got Dwight Johnson. He was put in a situation he didn't ask for, 50 Cal Hal. He was drafted into the military, put in that situation. But guess what he did? He showed courage under fire. And of course, Jorge Otero Barato, Sergeant Rock, oh my God, right? 200 fighting missions, 9 years, 5 tours of duty in Vietnam. I mean, some of y'all call it crazy. I just call it exceedingly courageous. So God bless him. Now, another person I want to talk to you guys about is Doris Mill. You guys probably know him when you see this. This is a famous picture. And I'm going to try to bring this up real quick if I can. Let me see here. Dory Miller, Navy. Dory Miller. There we go. All right, let me pull this up real quick. So if you guys don't know, military was segregated. But people enlisted in the military, men especially, they wanted to prove themselves. This is how you prove yourself. As a man, you go out there and you fight, and this is the way you prove it. And so a lot of black men were prevented from joining the fight, even though they were in the military. They left them as cooks. So here's what you got to understand here. So Dory Miller, or Doris Miller, he was in the military in 1943 in World War II. Now, he was officially a Navy cook, 3rd class, who was killed in action during World War II. He was the first Black American to be awarded the Navy Cross, the highest decoration of valor. Miller served aboard the battleship West Virginia, which sunk by the Japanese torpedo bombers during a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. So any of you guys know about Pearl Harbor? Y'all know what happened? See, a lot of people say, why is America always in these wars? Well, World War II, we tried to stay out of it, and then they drug us in it. I believe what happened is we cut the oil off to Japan, And then Japan said, well, okay, we're going to come show you. And so what did they do? They snuck around the islands with a whole I don't want to call it a flotilla, a battalion of planes. They snuck through the islands, Honolulu, and bombed all of our Navy ships in Oahu, on the island of Oahu, and sunk basically our Pacific fleet, and did so much damage to it that, and they killed, hundreds and hundreds of soldiers, and sailors and Marines too, I'm sure. But for the most part, we were kind of staying out of it. But this is what happened to them. So during that attack, it was a surprise attack. During the attack, he helped several, and we're talking about Doris Miller, the sailor Dory Miller, cook third class. During the attack, he helped several soldiers who were wounded, and while manning an anti-aircraft machine gun, which is what this looks like, for which he had no training, he shot down several Japanese planes. So instead of running and jumping overboard and getting the hell out of there, this brother who had no training, hopped on the anti-aircraft gun. Mind you, you got planes flying everywhere. They're bombing people and dropping stuff down. A fleet armada, right? That's right. Thank you so much, Chester Williams. And all my military guys, everybody in the chat room, please help me correct the terminology. I want to make sure I get it precise. But I'm just here telling the story because I'm looking at it. It's a real story of courage. Miller's actions earned him the medal, and resulting publicity for Miller in the black press made him an iconic emblem of the fight for civil rights for Black Americans. And so again, I'm gonna point something out to you guys, and I pointed this out before. As far as, and I'm gonna have a blackety black moment. All my, KS fans, I know, right? I'll have a blackety black moment every now and then to talk to my guys. It has been our military. It has been our Black military men, right, who have pushed the envelope for civil rights. And we appreciate your Martin Luther Kings and your Malcolm X's and all that. But what really has pushed us forward and really has compelled the United States to give us the rights that we've earned is that when you go and you have a person who fights and dies next to you, and then that same person who was willing to risk their life for you, you got to see them being castigated and disrespected in the country that they fight for. That really makes a country have to look at it and say, this is not right. This man, this Black man, this Puerto Rican man, this man of color fought next to me in this war. And when he comes back to the same United States that we fought for, he's treated like a second and third class citizen. This ain't right. And a lot of the progress that we've made as people of color, whether it's be Black, Hispanic, or whatever, has been because of the service of our military men. And that's something that we shouldn't overlook. It's been those guys who came back and got the respect of those other fighting men who said, man, we can't, we got to get these guys rights. I mean, look at how well they fought. And there was a time when they wouldn't let Black men fight in the military. Same thing with the NBA. They wouldn't let us play ball. They didn't think we'd be good. And guess what? Just like in the NBA, once they gave us the ball, bam. Once they gave us those rifles and properly equipped us, bam, look what we were able to do. So y'all keep that in mind, and I'm going to say this. If you're not doing anything with your life, you got a high school diploma, whatever, no specific plans, you should take yourself to the military. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. I got my brother's a Marine, Aaron Sperling. I got a younger brother who's enlisted in the Marine Corps, Austin Sperling. My granddaddy was a Marine, Jim Sperling. My uncle was a Marine, fought in Vietnam. He's a sergeant, enlisted as an Army man, fought in the 101st Airborne. Y'all heard about him. He's in my book, his Uncle Bob. Then re-enlisted in the Marine Corps and went back to Vietnam. So, even my other uncle was in the Army. So I got Army family. I got two cousins. Two of my first cousins. One went to the Navy, the other one went to the Army. So I got family members that my family is the majority of the family members that all the men in my family have gone to the military. So I have a special place in my heart for the Marines and the Army and the fighting men of the Navy and the Air Force. This has been an important part of our heritage in my family. So I definitely want to acknowledge them, and this is something that I appreciate, and I appreciate you guys with me. We're not going to have a whole lot of people here. This is not something it's not sexy. It's not fun. This is not something that the typical person wants to talk about. They want to talk about foolishness and mess. But again, we're here to build men. That's why we're here to build. And part of doing that involves it helps. We need to talk about the courage of some of these men that came before us. And in doing so, it helps you realize what you can do, and that's where we are right now. So let me see if I want to try to get something else in here for you guys. I want to talk about Alwyn Cashe. And this brother here is he's a special situation, right? This is, to me, what dedication is, self-sacrifice. That's his story. So the brother Alwyn Cashe, right? Alwyn Crendell Cashe, born in 1970. What does that tell you? He ain't too much older than us. Died November 2005. He wasn't too much older than us, y'all. This is ours. He's 35 years old, He's one of us. Okay? So he's a United States Army senior non-commissioned officer who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for heroism in Iraq. So here's his story. On November 10th, 2020, well, I'll run it down to you. I want to tell you what he did. So basically what happened was on an IED, which is an improvised explosive device, exploded under a vehicle that they was riding in, okay? Who was he? Well, he was serving with Company A, 1st Battalion, 5th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division during combat operations in support of operating Iraqi freedom. Sergeant First Class Cashe disregarded his own safety and proved evident when he saved the lives of 6 fellow soldiers despite his serious injuries. His bravery is in keeping with the finest traditions of the military heroism and reflect distinct credit upon himself. Task Force Dragon, the Sledgehammer Brigade, Task Force Liberty, and the United States Army Narrative to Accompany Award Sergeant First Class Alwyn Crendell Cashe heroically distinguished himself by exceptional, valorous conduct in the face of enemy of the United States. Basically, this brother, they were riding. It was 19-20 hours, which is late at night, right before 9 o'clock. They were doing a route clearance. They were out and about. They were in a Bradley fighting vehicle, and they struck a IED, which exploded, and the blast ignited the fuel cell in the vehicle, causing fuel to spew everywhere. So it was fuel everywhere, and then at some point, the whole thing erupted in flames. So Sergeant First Class Cashe was initially slightly injured, but he was drenched in fuel. So he's drenched in fuel, and he was only injured a little bit. Despite his condition, he bravely managed to get out of the gunner's hatch, crawl down the BFW, and assist the driver out of the driver's vehicle. The driver had been burned, and Sergeant First Class Cashe extinguished the flames. The following minutes were crucial. Listen to this, man. He's drenched in gas. He's already got one guy out. Okay? 6 soldiers and a translator were in the back of the Bradley. Flames had engulfed the entire vehicle. And these boys are stuck, his boys, and this is what he called them. His boys were stuck in the back of that Bradley fighting vehicle. Okay? This is where they were. All right? And he wasn't going to let them sit there and die. He wasn't going to let them burn. Flames had engulfed the entire vehicle from the bottom and were coming out of every portal. The squad leader inside the vehicle managed to open the troop hatch door to help the soldiers escape. Without regard for his own personal safety, Sergeant First Class Cashe rushed to the back of the vehicle, reaching into the hot flames, started pulling out his soldiers. The flames gripped his fuel-soaked uniform. You hear me? You hear me? This man's got fuel all over him. But he heard his soldiers in the back screaming. And he reached his hands in. Have you guys ever put your hand on a hot stove? You know how that feels? Imagine you got a hot tank-looking vehicle burning in front of you. And you got gasoline all over you. And he's dripping in gasoline. And he reached himself in there, and the flames quickly spread all over his body. Despite the terrible pain, Sergeant First Class Cashe placed the injured soldier on the ground and returned to the burning vehicle to retrieve another burning soldier. He's on fire himself. He's on fire himself, and he's reaching in, trying to save other soldiers who are burning. All the while, he's still on fire. A crew from a trail Bradley arrived within moments and assisted with the case vac. During all of this, and with severe burns, Sergeant First Class Cashe bravely continued to take control of the chaos. Within minutes, the company first sergeant was on the scene and began to evacuate the seriously injured soldiers, one of which was Sergeant First Class Cashe. In the end, the national translator was killed in action and 10 soldiers were injured. Seven of the 10 were very seriously injured. Sergeant First Class Cashe stayed a hero through it all. His injuries were worse as he suffered from second and third degree burns over 72% of his body. Sergeant First Class Cashe's heroic action saved the lives of 6 of his beloved soldiers. He truly deserved this award. But do you guys hear what he did? Basically, he jumped into a burning vehicle to save his soldiers. This is the type of person you want to go to war with. This is the type of bravery we appreciate. And these are the sort of men that modern men must base themselves after. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So we talked about a lot of guys today, right? And I want to talk to you about one more brother, and then we may open the lines up for a little while. But first, before we get going, let's big shout out to United States Marine Corps, United States Army, Navy, Air Force. I try to hit everybody. I don't think we got the Air Force today, but that's all right. Okay. Here's another guy I want you guys to take a listen to, and he's an Army Ranger, and this brother's only 35. He is you. He's your age, fellas. Okay. His nickname was the Reaper. Black soldier, made first African sniper to. I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can know. His name is Nick. Okay. You guys still with me? Hit the number 1 button if you're with me, guys. Hit the number 1 button if you're still with me, and we're going to talk about Nicholas Irving. What I'll do is I'll take a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll talk about Nicholas Irving when I come back. But y'all got to give me, I guess I need to run some commercials for you guys to, let's do a roll call. All right, who's in the house? Come on, let's get the roll call going.
Hey, I'm about to show you something. get enough.
Tengo video. Mami, ¿tú te gusta mi... ¿Cómo es este? Sí. Mucho. Ok. Hace calor aquí. ¿Tú no miedazo? Mucho calor. Ok. Yo me gusta. Yo no quiero regresar a Estados Unidos, muy frío allá. Quiero ir a Colombia conmigo. Muy frío, pero es muy bien para comprar ropa y otra cosa. Ay, mi amor, tu culo muy grande. Ok, tú quieres más ropa. All right, we're back. I hope that broke this up a little bit. This is too much for some of y'all to take, but that's all right, man. I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you appreciate what I'm doing, man, hit the #1 button. We only got, I tell you guys, I already know this is not going to be some huge pool. There's not going to be a lot of people who are interested in military. I just got a bunch of military guys in here who appreciate this. If you're in the military, if you appreciate the military, make sure you hit the #1 button. Show your appreciation by hitting the #1 button. We got to get this algorithm going. That's right. That's Heideley. Yeah, man. Heideley has a bikini line. You guys should check her out, man. She's got a fantastic bikini line called Heideley Bikinis. And she's so, you might be able to make a reason to get in contact with her. I'll have to let her know that she's got a lot of fans here in the United States who appreciate her work. In the meantime, let's go back and let's talk about this one last soldier, special kind of guy here. He is his name is Nicholas Irving, and he was born in 1986. He's an American. A former soldier. He was a special operations sniper, 3rd Ranger Battalion, U.S. Army. He's a sergeant. And, I want to kind of tell you a little bit about him. This gentleman has over 33 confirmed kills. This young black soldier right here, this born in Germany, on his 6th deployment in Afghanistan's Helmand province, he said he knew it wouldn't be the usual quiet deployment he had become accustomed to. We got there, and I knew there was going to be a different deployment, despite all the stories we're told about Afghanistan was relatively boring, Irving said. Nothing ever happens in Afghanistan. In 2009, the reality on the ground was far from boring or quiet. At the time, the United States had sent 4,000 troops in Helmand province to help regain control from the Taliban fighters who had control over poppy fields in the area and were smuggling opioids to fund their insurgents. Then 23-year-old Sergeant Nicholas Irving was on the ground making a name for himself. He was the first African-American sniper, first African-American special operations sniper to deploy with the 3rd Ranger Battalion. He was a sniper team leader and was proving to be among the deadliest. Every time we went out, I was pulling the trigger every single time, he said. This is the brother right here, man. Look at him. Look at that. Woo! Look at that, boy. I bet he could, man. His name, he had a name for his rifle. He called his rifle Dirty Diana. His nickname was the Reaper, and Nicholas is his. So let's put this is what he called his rifle, Dirty Diana. Y'all type Dirty Diana in there, guys. Dirty Diana. That was the name of his rifle. His sharpshooting skills had caught the attention of reconnaissance team who needed Irving to take out a high-value target from 800 meters away. Irving said the shot would be very hard, if not impossible, but he wasn't about to let this special operation slip away, so he agreed to take the shot. What does it say? Irving is the first African-American special operations sniper to deploy in the 3rd Ranger Battalion. He is recorded
he recorded a record of 33 confirmed kills in a 100-day span. Right? So inside of his first 3 months, he's killing somebody every other day, killing the enemy every other day. Let's keep that straight. Over several days, Irvin, his spotter Pemberton, and the reconnaissance team traveled through the sweltering hot Afghanistan desert. Along the way, they met with and helped a Marine unit who had taken a local school from the Taliban and had come under fire every day. They were getting attacked every morning, then typically took over the school. They typically took over the school that the Taliban had bombed and destroyed. He recalled the Marines functioned out of there, and they were getting attacked every morning, and they asked if we could help. He used his sharp shooting skills to take out a target who was about to shoot a group of Marines with a rocket a half-mile distance. It was Irving's longest shot of the deployment. However, there is no time to marvel in his skill because Irving and the reconnaissance team still had their mission ahead of them. So, here's the thing. I want to just say thank you to all you guys. I appreciate y'all. I hope you guys appreciate this message. This is bravery. Now I know I just showed a bunch of, black dudes and Hispanic dudes, but that's because that's who we have on this page. And I know I got some white guys here. You guys know your heroism. You know your heroes. But it's very rarely ever that we have black men who are showcased and the courage that they've exhibited in all the foreign wars. But I wanted to bring these guys up, especially on this particular day. So we got a gentleman in here. How you doing today, sir? Oh, you got to unmute. Let me see if I can unmute you. I see you got your Marine Corps dress blues behind you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
All right. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. And go ahead. What would you like to add to this conversation, sir?
I would like to just say that for, living in America, a lot of black men say, this is not my country. They don't want to fight for the country. I would say the reason why I joined the military is because I was raised in a single parent home and it was just my mom. Mm-hmm. And graduating high school, I had no purpose. Mm-hmm. I feel as though the military was a good way for finding my purpose and finding who I was as a black man. Those obstacles are important into coming to manhood. So I just want to say for all of those men that are watching this broadcast that don't have any type of direction, you should consider it. I'm not saying you need to join the Marines, but there are other branches that you can join that could better fit you. Not everyone in the military fights wars. Some people support.
But don't you think like the courage that it takes to go through basic training and the discipline that's required to take orders from people, even if you don't understand, or maybe you don't even agree with those orders, these sort of things are good for masculine and manly development, in my opinion. What are your thoughts based on your experience in the Marine Corps?
For sure. I believe that being that I grew up in the 90s and the 80s, I grew up in Washington, D.C., which at the time was the murder capital of the world. Mm-hmm. Me risking my life wasn't such a big risk at that time.
Okay.
Because it was like
I'd rather go to war than stay in DC. Oh my God. Okay.
Exactly. Bro. It was like, dealing with crack and everything. It was like the expected rate of me reaching 25 was like, oh, you were accomplished if you reached the age of 25. So I was like, I might as well give this a shot. So the discipline that it takes to follow orders, you just got to understand that it's not personal.
Right.
They are not telling you these things because they have something against you or against your skin, but they're telling you these things because you don't know or you need to know, or it's a part of a bigger plan. Once you are exposed to the bigger framework of things, it's easy to follow.
Okay. Thank you so much, brother. Let's get we have another gentleman in here. Mr. Hanif Khalil, how are you doing today, sir?
Great, Sheriff Sperling.
All right. I'm doing good, sir. I appreciate you coming back. Always good to have you here. Sir, what would you like to add to this conversation?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart in you setting yourself apart from others that may be in the YouTube space right now and acknowledging the contributions of the veterans served in the armed forces of the United States of America. I highly respect you for doing that. And I must say that, seeing you go over those heroes really brought tears to my eyes. All my paternal and maternal uncles served in the United States military during World War II. All of my brothers and myself served in the United States military. I currently have a grandson that's active duty, airborne, and one grandson that's already been in and out of the military. So like you, the military is a big part of my family, primarily United States Army. I served from 1966 to 1969. I was drafted at the age of 19, which was the age of the average soldier that served in Vietnam. So I can relate 100%. And I'm just so thankful that you did this, and particularly the veterans you highlighted, the Puerto Rican, Puerto Rico not even, being mainland, a territory of the United States of America. And I served with many Puerto Ricans, and they served with valor, with honor, with dignity, knowing that they were a territory. And as much I can say, and like the Marine that just spoke, I think the draft for me, I think it was a great thing. At that time, they were drafting 50 to 60,000 men a month at the height of the Vietnam War. Every 30 days, 60,000 were drafted. Because not only was the war going on in Vietnam, same time there were 350,000 U.S. troops in Europe during the Cold War, which is where I served. I wasn't in country during Vietnam, so I'm what they call a Vietnam era veteran. But none of us still got any respect at all being in the military during that time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I heard you make a comment, and I'm going to stop after this. You said a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. So you said he was a Marine, but once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you tell us what it was? I talked to my uncle, my Uncle Robert, I call him Uncle Bob in my book. And he talks to me about what it was like when he came back from the Army. He was 101st Airborne, and he came in and cleaned up after Hamburger Hill and all that he saw. And he said when he came back from the war, people were very disrespectful to our veterans from the Vietnam War. It was a different kind of war. It wasn't like World War II. It wasn't even like Korea. It wasn't like World War I. You had a lot of people who had been listening to the news, and they basically called y'all baby killers. They called these black men all these horrible names. Let me just give y'all some historical precedent first, so you can understand why all those people in that generation were wrong. First of all, we were fighting what is called a Cold War. And I know a lot of you young people hear that term thrown around, but what we were trying to do in the interest of the United States is stop the spread of communism. What that meant was communism meant I'm now the ally of the USSR, which means that I'm going to be the USSR is going to put its nuclear bases and nuclear bombs on our land. Cuba was an ally of the USSR. There was a time when Kennedy had to fight or argue, and we almost had an explosion because they were trying to ship nuclear bombs to Cuba. Now, if you've ever taken a flight from Miami to the Dominican Republic, that's an hour away. Well, Cuba is only about 20 minutes away. Now, multiply that times a rocket, the flight of a rocket. That means you would never be safe in Miami. From that position, they could have hit any target on the East Coast within 20 or 30 minutes. This is what our army was fighting for. This is what the Cold War is about. We're not, look, we don't want the expansion of communism. So whatever these people say, whatever this history that you guys read, don't pay attention to it. Even in the Iraq war, they said, well, we invaded the wrong country. No, we goddamn well didn't. We did not want them coming over here bombing any more of our buildings. So we had to make a tough choice. Our government said, well, you know what? Afghanistan doesn't have enough targets for us to maintain a force over there. We're going to send our boys, we're going to send our fighting men, our best and our hardest fighters to Iraq, and we're going to draw the enemy into Iraq. If you want to kill Americans, come on over here and kill these. Don't knock any more of our buildings down. A lot of you guys don't understand that. It was a way in which we drained all of our enemies' resources. We gave them a target. We gave them a false target to attack. You're going to listen. See, here's the thing. A lot of Black Americans don't realize this. When those bombs come, when those planes came and knocked down those buildings, they didn't just kill white folks. They killed Black folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks. They killed everybody they could. On those airplanes that were trying to hit DC, it wasn't just Black folks it wasn't just white folks, it was all of us. When they see Americans, they see targets, period. And if it wasn't for the strength that we have in our military, this country wouldn't have lasted this long. You see what I'm saying? Here's what I want you guys to understand. It serves no purpose for you to turn against the United States. It serves no purpose for you not to support the United States military, because this is the same military that keeps you safe at night. You would not want this to be northern Mexico. You want to know what hell is? Go to northern Mexico. See what happens when people take over. You want to know what a problem is? Look at Ukraine right now. They got this big bad Russian army coming in there invading them. This is what America would be like every 2 or 3 years. We'd be getting invaded by anybody. The only thing that keeps them at bay is that they know that this tiger has teeth. So thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Khalil? And then we're going to go to Kobe Burton and back to Ken and then back to you.
Now I'm going to yield to you, Sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Kobe, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good there. How are you?
I'm good. What would you like to add to this conversation?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for having this program because I lost a battle buddy of mine back in 2019. He was killed in Afghanistan, and he was a SF guy. He's a Black guy, so you might want to look him up. His name is Master Sergeant Michael Riley.
Okay.
Best of the best.
Tell us what your experience was like in the military. What did you learn?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like me personally, I would tell anyone, you know what I'm saying, if you're a young 18-year-old dude, you know what I'm saying, fresh out of high school, with a high school diploma, and you don't have no direction in life, your best bet would be to go into the military. Because the military is a stepping stone for you to, you know what I'm saying, be a productive citizen in the U.S., you know what I'm saying? You don't just, like the guy said earlier, you don't just join the military and, you know what I'm saying, and everyone fights on the front line. Everyone has their role. You got the support role, then you got the operational role, then you got the guys that fight the front line. Me, I was one of them guys that fought on the front line because, like I say, I was an Army Ranger. And
wow,
my guy Michael Riley right there, he was SF and he was also a Ranger tab dude as well. You know, good friend of mine who was killed in Afghanistan in 2019. I had just retired in 2018. He ended up coming here to Fort Carson to the 10th group here, and I ended up running to my first sergeant at the time when all of us were stationed in Germany together. I didn't know that Mike had came here, and they ended up going on to the mission, and then, you know, he was killed, like I said, in 2019. But my experience of being in the military is that, like I say, I fought front line. I saw a lot. I have PTSD real bad. You know, I remember when I got medevac back from my first deployment, it was an SF guy laying in bed right next to me, and both of us was basically waking each other up because we both were having like nightmares that night. You know, he was a wounded guy as well, you know. And so there are so many things that you can do in the military besides fight front line. Like you can do like computers, you can do logistics. There's a lot of things you can do, and you can get out and then work for like a government contracting company like Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, where they hire and they pay you six-figure salary based off your skills and stuff. and your degree and everything that you have. See, me, I have an IT degree. I got a bachelor's in information technology. I work in cybersecurity now, so I kind of do like this stuff that prevent people from getting their stuff hacked into or whatnot, you know. So there's a lot of things that you can learn in the military, a lot of great skills that you can that can transfer into the civilian sector to where you can make a decent amount of salary once you
you skipping over the best part. You are Army Ranger.
Yes.
Let's go back to that part. Let's talk to us. What kind of mentality do you have to say, not only am I going to join the Army, but I'm going to go to Ranger School? Tell us about the type of mentality that you have, Kobe. You have to say.
You have to have a very, very strong mind. Like, you got to have this don't quit mentality, because the Ranger School is set up to where you go through a lot of rigorous training, and it's set up to make people quit. And for the ones that quit, they automatically get weeded out. For the people that don't quit, you basically live to go on and do another exercise, and it's basically the same thing. You putting your body through so much stuff because like I said, they want the best of the best. They want guys that don't quit. That's just the beginning of it. Once you get past that selection process, and then that's when you transfer and you move on to the next phase, where you start learning like the skill set of being a ranger, where you learn how to be a proficient shooter. You learn how to clear rooms. You learn how to use demo to blow up stuff, to breach doors with explosives and things of that nature. You know, you learn how to use night vision goggles to when you because most of our missions happen at night. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like when they went and raided and killed bin Laden. You see that mission that took place at night. You know what I'm saying? And so that's basically how, like, the same thing as Army Rangers do. We all our mission happens at night. You know what I'm saying? We basically go in with the element of surprise, basically like sneak up on them. They don't even know that we there. Next thing you know, we at your front door. We breaching your front door, and then we hit your house, and then we clean all your room. If anyone that's in there that has guns or whatever, we're taking you out, and then we basically clean them up. And then, you know, we go on to the next one. And then, you know, even when we take casualties doing these type of things, the mission must still continue to go on. Even if you get shot yourself, you still have to fight your way out of certain things.
I mean, you know, Kobe, you're saying this so casually. Do you know what type of, I know you know, but they don't realize what type of courage it takes to do that. I know guys, I mean, for instance, we had some children get killed in Uvalde, Texas here.
Mm-hmm.
And you got cops standing outside. They didn't want to go in because there was one active shooter in there, an 18-year-old kid. Had that been a group of Army Rangers, they would have went in.
Oh, man, that would have been an easy kill. That would have been an easy kill. We'd have cornered off the whole building off. He would have never seen us coming.
You see, and I know you say that so casually, but you don't know what type of courage that takes, Kobe.
Exactly.
It's probably become so normal to your personality.
Yeah.
That this is just what I'm going to do. It's not about they don't understand that. Like, the only thing I can equate it to is back when I played football, you got guys who are 6'9" out there, 350 pounds. They're strong as hell. And it's like, I got to go out there. I'm the first. They're going to kick the ball off, and I'm the first line of defense. You see what I mean? I'm the first one's going to get hit because I'm playing offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Or it takes a certain level of courage. Now, you become so accustomed to it, you don't realize how special that is. That other people can't do that, Kobe.
Yes,
like you don't realize how special, how much courage it takes. I mean, you're sitting here talking about it like you making iced tea. Yeah, put a little sugar in there, some water, some ice, stir it up. It's good, man. But salute to you, brother.
I'm telling you, man, it basically comes down to repetitive training. You do the same thing over and over and over until you perfect it.
Yes, sir.
It just becomes second nature to you, to where you can walk into a house and just clear it. You and just two guys, because y'all so good at it. And then y'all trust each other training. Y'all trust each other shooting. Y'all have each other back. This is someone that you don't even know from nowhere, but y'all end up building this bond between each other.
And that's another thing we want to talk about. I would imagine that, you know, when you're under fire, it doesn't matter what religion the person is next to you helping you fight.
Nope.
It doesn't matter what part of the country he's from. It doesn't matter if he speaks perfect English or Ebonics or speaks with some sort of accent. It don't matter what color he is. You know, you trust that he has your back and you have his back. And that's you know, that says a lot. You know, Kobe, hold on a minute. I want to go back to Ken.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about courage, guys, because it takes courage. You know, yeah, you might get in the military and end up doing a computer job, but you got to sign up and you might go to war. That in itself takes courage.
Yep.
And elder, this is what an elder looks like. See this brother, this is Elder Hanif. This is somebody I would consider. I'm not an elder. You understand? I'm just a young brother, just like you guys, and I'm learning from people like him. But it's an honor and a pleasure to have him here because we need this wisdom. He's about my uncle's age.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my uncle were in Vietnam at around the same time, and so my Uncle Bob, for you guys, the one who taught me how to box, the one who taught me how to fight, the one who taught me to, you know, he caught me with a right hook one day when I disrespected him, and I apologized to him after I got up off the ground. You know, and some of y'all might say why would you apologize to him? Because he was right for knocking me.
Exactly. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
you supposed to respect the elders.
Yes, sir. You know, courage, respect, honor.
Yeah.
Ken, go ahead and finish talking to us, man. And I'm so happy you gentlemen are here. Go ahead, brother. What else would you like to add on the subject of courage and masculine development? Because we got a shortage of that right now in modern men.
I know you have been pushing the Save Yourself Black Man movement. And I can say that joining the military is one of the fastest way to six figures, since a lot of guys are talking about the monetary side of being a high value man. You know, me, I served 5 years in the military. I worked on electronic countermeasures, and that basically is what prevents bombs from exploding. You know, so that people can get home safe to their family, you know. So I wasn't necessarily on the front line, but these guys, it was life-saving equipment, you know. You have use. I want to say this to all Black men. You have use in this world. You're not useless, you know. You just need to challenge yourself and try to do more than what is around you. Get out of your comfort zone. Have the courage to do something you have no idea about. You know,
basically doing the great for yourself. Yeah.
And you know, and I know we got ladies in the military, but that's a new phenomenon. For the past 200, 300 years, it's been men on the front lines.
Yes,
you know, it's been men fighting and dying and bleeding to preserve your freedom. It's been men pushing the envelope. Y'all keep that in mind.
I just would like to add that I was a part of the evacuation of Kabul, Afghanistan in August. We got overrun by the Taliban. And being out of the military in that situation, I believe that takes more courage than being in the military, because we weren't allowed to have weapons.
Wow. Yeah, that's advantages and disadvantages to it, but I would say that having the insight and knowledge of what's going on is better than not knowing. You know, they say ignorance is bliss, but I prefer to be a guy that knows. You know, I appreciate that, and Mr. Khalil, I think he could. Vietnam, they really hampered our military forces. We couldn't chase the Vietnamese over into Laos. There was we had certain restrictions. They would be hiding out over. For you guys who don't know, Vietnam is like a little strip of land, like a little strip of land on the edge of the of next to the ocean. And so it's surrounded by like Thailand, Laos, and these other places. So the Vietnamese, they didn't care about them damn borders. They would go over there and hide. Their regular soldiers go over there, come back, hide. You can't go any further. You can't bomb over there. You might get in trouble if you did. And so they kind of tied our military's hands behind their backs, literally, and had them fighting one-handed with one hand over their eye. And it's unfair, but our men fought bravely. And I'm just gonna say it. I'm 100% in support of the military. Like, and a lot of Black people these days, we got this streak of anti-patriotism. This ain't this ain't our country. You fought and died for this country. The world belongs to whoever's strong enough to take it and hold on to it. And black men have been fighting and helping hold on to this country, this particular territory for hundreds of years now. And we own part of it. Mr. Khalil, would you like to add on to that and tell us some more about your experiences in Vietnam and post-Vietnam and conversations you may have had with other veterans? Anything you'd like to share with us, sir?
Well, again, Dennis, I really appreciate this element of your channel. And, it's a lot of things that we can talk about related to manhood.
Mm-hmm.
This piece here, I think, is crucially important, and I appreciate you taking the time. Now, just to make it clear, I am what they call a Vietnam era veteran, which means I served during the time in the height of the war, but I didn't actually serve in country. I was on my way there twice, but I ended up in Germany, the threat of the USSR. So I was there when the wall was still up. Matter of fact, I was there when Russia invaded Czechoslovakia. I was in Germany. When Dr. King was assassinated, I was serving in Germany, in Mannheim. So, but we didn't get any more respect coming home to America from Germany than the soldiers did from Vietnam. If you had a uniform, it was known you served. You got spit on. There was no regard for your service whatsoever. It was a terrible time being a United States citizen and being in the military when you would come home from a land where you served the country.
Yeah.
But again, I don't regret not 1 minute I spent in the military. There's many, 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 many benefits. I served as a DOD contractor for 33 years, from 1984 to 2017 at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, as a DOD contractor. So as it was mentioned, there are many benefits you can receive from housing, education, medical benefits, disability, and it goes on and on and on now that they're making special accommodations for the military. And you're also right in terms of the women, because when I served as recently as in the 60s, there were two separate armies. They had a women's army corps. They were called WACs.
Mm-hmm.
The military wasn't even co-ed at that time. It was two separate military for the women and for the men. The same way in the Air Force, they were called waves. So they didn't serve. I mean, they didn't train together. They didn't house together like they do now. So it was two separate units of the military, the men and the women.
If these ladies want to go out there and fighting down the front lines, they can have at it. They want equal rights. Let's see how this lasts. Let's see, because I've seen men falter under the threat of being sent to the front lines. If these ladies wanted, they asked for it. We'll see how long this experiment lasts.
A lot of respect for the Rangers. I know also Marines that were special ops. So there's a whole separate unit.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers, and as he mentioned, that's the best, the creme de la creme, as they say, the creme de la creme.
And Kobe up here talking about it like man, we just making Kool-Aid over here, bro. That's amazing. What you're doing is amazing, Kobe. What you've done. You're a young man. That is amazing. That's something that you're a Ranger. You're an Army Ranger. And I just, it's like it's the biggest secret that we keep. Like some people, they're more proud of you if you sell weed than if you got out of the military, with honorable discharge. It's like, my God, why is it that in the Black community, like it's almost like it's upside down? The way we see things is upside down. This is an honor. Yeah. This is not just a thing. And I appreciate you guys talking about all the benefits that you get. But man, it's easier ways to get good medical insurance. You know what I'm saying? Than to put your life on the line. It's a lot of easier ways. And let's talk about the courage that it took to do what you did, to follow instructions, the discipline, the masculinity, being in these situations with, a super aggressive guy. Because everybody around you we're all soldiers, we're all Marines, we are all fighting men. This is the mentality you're in. I'm sure it definitely socializes you and teaches you how to conduct yourself in society. and I just appreciate y'all. But Kobe, go ahead and tell us casually all these amazing things that you've done. Like, it ain't nothing. Go ahead and tell us some more about this stuff.
Now, the discipline is good to have, man, because I would tell you this discipline is what kept me alive in many of the firefights that I had been in the military. You know, I would tell you that.
Yes, sir.
You know,
did y'all hear that?
Huh?
Many of the firefights that I had. Okay, so let me translate. He was getting shot at, and people were shooting at him. We ain't talking about no gangbanging stuff. We talking about professional soldiers shooting at him and him shooting back at them. People who want to kill him, not about a color, but in the name of their of their country and their honor. They really, this is serious, man. This is. Let's hold on. I got something for you. Hold on. Where's the hand? That's what I'm talking about, man. Go ahead, Kobe. Let me get that out of here. Go ahead, Kobe.
No, but it all just comes down to your discipline, man. It's something that you learn from basic training that takes you all the way up into, like, you know, when you actually boots on ground in another country, invading it, you know what I'm saying, fighting front line. You know, you like the first of the first when you go to these places, you know what I'm saying. The Army, they said when they want to make a statement, they send the Rangers to go in there to do things, you know what I'm saying. But when they really wanted to get something done surgically, that's when they send in the SF guys, the Navy SEALs, and those type of guys, you know, to really get things done in and out. You know what I'm saying? Rangers, you just go in there, mess up stuff, blow stuff up, you know what I'm saying, and just make a statement, you know, basically make noise, whatever. But it takes a lot of discipline to be in the Rangers, because there's a certain type of mental fortitude that you have to build, going through all this type of training and stuff, and then being able to master this thing that you're going to see in combat. You know, you see some gruesome stuff that the average person not going to see. Even when you have gang turf, have gang wars and stuff, you're going to see some things that you don't even see in gang war turf. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Seeing guys with a blown off leg or arm or something like that, you know.
Yeah, and the police and the ambulance is not coming to pick you up.
Exactly.
You're not 3 blocks from your grandma's house.
Exactly. You like about it. Every guy that's on the ground with you are like CLS trained. That's basically combat life-saving training. I mean, like, we'll have a medic on the ground with us, but the thing about it, every guy has to be proficient enough and have a discipline enough to be able to sit there and assess like an open chest wound, like that. Those type of things happen. You know what I'm saying, on the ground. You know, with guys, you gotta know how to freaking stop a guy from bleeding out profusely. You know, there's things that in the plate, and you got rounds coming at you. You know what I'm saying? You just hearing all this noise in the background. You have to kind of like tune that stuff out and just focus on the task at hand. It takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Can I make a suggestion to you, honorable men, please, if you will? It would be really, and this is just a suggestion. I don't know how far you guys want to go, because my Uncle Robert never liked to talk about the Vietnam War. I know he saw a lot, you know, but they never want to talk about it. They just, I was there, and you know, I used to carry, when it was my turn to carry the machine gun, I would carry it down because I had the radio pack and the machine gun, and then the enemy would believe the first people they want to kill is the guy with the machine gun and the guy with the radio pack. Yep. So I'd carry my machine gun down, and I've been trying to get him on the phone to talk, but he never liked to talk about it, you know. But I think that the way things are now with YouTube, I think you military veterans, especially you Black military veterans, I think you'd be doing a great service, you know, to all military veterans if you guys would come together and start a page and talking about just military life, you know. I would support it. I would, anytime you guys want me to come over there, anytime y'all want to come over here and promote it, I would definitely support it. And I'll just put that idea out there. I think it'd be a great thing, because even though it's only a couple of people in here, these guys are dedicated. 66 people. I think I probably made $100. You see what I'm saying? That says a lot, because normally it takes 200 or 300 people to get that much. And then plus this will be seen over and over again. I think you guys should really think about that. I think it could be therapeutic. I think it could be good for Black men especially, and good for the country. You know, you guys all took an oath, just like I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, uphold its laws as an attorney and an officer of the court. you guys took an oath too, and I don't think that oath ends when you get out of when you leave active duty, and it could be helpful because what we need right now in the Black community, we need an influx of masculinity. Some of these baby mama raised young men, some of these guys, they need that sergeant, they need that staff sergeant. You know, they need to know that somebody is dependent on me, so I got to man up. You know, I can't have a bad day, because if I have a bad day, you know, my battle buddy dies. You know, or so just think about that, and maybe it won't be you guys, or maybe it's somebody listening to this. But man, we got Vietnam era, we got Ranger, you know, we got Ken. You see what I'm saying? We got Marine Corps.
Persian Gulf era.
Yeah, you know, Persian Gulf. We got Marines. We got the Army.
But the thing about the Iraqi war and the Vietnam war, both of those wars were basically kind of like the same, because we was fighting the same type of enemy. We was basically just fighting insurgents, just people that lived in these villages that we would go and patrol, and they would attack us as we coming in. You know, I had a great uncle who just passed away. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he was a 2-time Purple Heart recipient.
Wow.
And me and him would have talks about, like, you know, our military experience. And me, I was the only person that he could really like talk to. So me and him, we was real close. Every time I would go home and visit, we would talk, and he would just, you know, we would just share stories about like my combat tour, like how was it and whatnot, and things of that nature. And, you know, we just share stories and stuff, and kind of have like an emotional moment together with each other, and just, you know, thanking each other for both our service, because without the Vietnam veteran, you know, Iraqi veterans, you know, like they paid the way for us, you know. We learn from them.
Do you think it helps your PTSD to talk about this and have people understand what you? I mean, I would think it does. Yeah,
absolutely. It really does, because, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, 22 soldiers commit suicide daily. You know.
Oh, I know.
And it's that's alarming number when you really think about, when you take into account of it. Like, and a lot of those soldiers have PTSD. They go to the VA. You know, sometimes the VA system has gotten a whole lot better. It's still not the best yet, but it's in the process of getting better. You know, like they have like veteran crisis line you can call and talk to someone. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've used a crisis line a couple of times when I first got out the military, because I didn't know what to do with myself. All I knew was the military. You know.
Yeah.
And it gets to a time like, you know, soldiers and other veterans need each other to vent to, you know, to talk to someone, because people have been through some things, they done seen some things, you know, they're not getting the help that they need, you know. You just got some people, they just not right in the head after coming back from deployment, you know, like just seeing so much.
You know, and you know, the Native Americans, when their warriors would come back from wars, from battles, they would have them sit outside the camp for a little while and talk to the other men who'd been in wars, and just they would sit there for months sometimes and just debrief, because they've seen so much. And you need to talk to other people who understand, who are not going to judge you and say, "Oh, that's crazy. Oh, you need to get over it. Oh, you need to man up." No, you can't get over some of the stuff you've seen. Some people go to the hospital. There's emergency room operators, doctors. They can't take it because they've seen too much blood and guts. It's too traumatic. Imagine being a 19-year-old kid right out of Hoboken, New Jersey, you know, Flatbush, Oklahoma, you know, Dallas, Texas, and they drop you off in the war zone. You just left your mama's house, and now you're seeing all this killing and whatnot. That can affect you.
What happened?
You know?
It's exactly, Dennis. We call it from the sock hop to the jungle. In your prom, and months later you're in the bush. And we had guys, I don't know what's like now in our basic training, but how it was 52 years ago. The drill sergeants and the DIs, they could kick you, they could slap you. I don't know what it's like now, but these two soldiers here can relate to this. Now, I'm not, never been away from
for now, I'll tell you that.
I'm sorry, what now?
I said it's much softer now. The drill sergeant, they are not allowed to even put their hands like that. It's much softer now. They even got base training now.
Let me tell you what. They got sensitivity training in basic.
Yeah, they giving out stress card. Like if the soldier get too stressed out, they can pull a little stress card.
Ain't no chicken escape. Here, let me tell you what happened to me. I'm 19. I'm in boot camp. Mind you now, My dad was not a fisherman or hunter, so I don't know nothing about outdoors and hunting and weapons. So we on the rifle range, training, learning on with M14s. This is before M16s. M14s, we training, learning how to kill. So behind you, you got the tower. You got a man in the tower saying, "Fires, watch your lanes."
Yep.
So right at that point, the sergeant says something. I turned around to hear the sergeant. Guess what I did? I had my weapon in my hand. You never point your weapon other than downrange. This DI came up and kicked me. I can still feel it. He kicked me in my head. I had a steel pot on, but he kicked me in my head. Said, "Soldier, don't you ever turn your weapon from downrange."
Oh yeah.
And I mean, these DIs did not play. So you gonna man, and I grew up in the Army. I literally, you got to grow up really, really, really fast.
Yeah. I definitely had to, because I'll tell you, when I first joined the military, right after I got done with basic training, I was stationed in Fort Lewis, Washington at the time. And 2 months later, the unit I was with, we was in Iraq.
Wow.
In June. I got to my unit in April of 2005. No, April 2006. I got in June of 2006. I was in Iraq. Fresh out of basic training, only 3 months of training with my unit. Then I was the first guy in my whole basic training squadron to deploy.
Wow.
And then me, everybody else after that down range after I had already been down there 6 months. And a lot of guys that I went to basic training with got killed.
Yep. Same thing happened in Vietnam. They went from basic training, 6 weeks at Fort Polk for jungle training, straight to Vietnam. So 14 weeks out from your induction, you in the jungle.
Yeah.
That's how 14 weeks, not months, 14 weeks.
Yeah.
14 weeks.
3.5 months, basically.
14 weeks, you in the jungle.
Same with me. That's exactly how I kid you not, that was exactly how my first deployment in Iraq was.
Now, a good point you made also, Dennis. The military somewhat recognized the PTSD a little bit, in that a lot of the guys, after they did their 13 months in the NAM, rather than bringing them straight back to the U.S., a lot of those soldiers came to Germany. And I sat in the EM club in Germany with guys that were in the bush 24 hours before that, sitting there drinking a beer. These guys were in the bush 24 hours before that.
Wow. What do you?
They're telling stories about being in the bush. I mean, less than 24 hours. They in the EM club with me. I can remember a guy now, Reams from ninth. I can't remember the cavalry division with the orange patch with the black. I can't think of what it is right now. But
what is your thoughts when you hear the story of who we call or Sergeant Dwight H. Johnson? I call him 50 Cal Hal. I don't know if you were here earlier, but basically, man, this brother, he was operating the tank. He jumped his tank through a track. He jumped out, started shooting at the enemy with the 45, ran out of bullets, jumped in, grabbed a semi-automatic rifle, started shooting at him, went back to the tank, got one of his buddies out of the tank, took him to a safety, went back to the fight, got another 45, started shooting, ran out of bullets, then hopped on the tank and started shooting the 50 cal wide open for everybody to see while being attacked by a battalion of enemy soldiers. What type of courage did this man have to be able to do that? Like, he didn't run. I mean, and this man was drafted into the military. He was drafted into the Army. What are your thoughts when you hear stuff like that as a veteran yourself, or as a Vietnam era veteran?
Well, again, it's the whole principle of valor and integrity. And I heard you when you were talking about the staff of the SFC, Sergeant First Class, that was drenched in gasoline going back to save his soldiers in that Bradley tank. It's the same thing that kicks in. You don't think about yourself at the moment. It's all about survival. Your baser instincts that we all have as humans kicks in. And it's all at that point about survival and your fellow human survival. There's nothing else does even matter. It's all about saving the life. Nothing else. The fear just diminishes, although it's there. But you go beyond the fear to saving the life.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
I mean, and I'm just trying to get and here.
I'm gonna tell you, sometimes that fear is what keep you over there.
Well, what you got? Yes. I mean, how do you describe a man like this, Jorge Otero Barato? He basically, this man was in Vietnam for 9 years. He served 5 tours of duty in Vietnam. Look at this. He's got 5 Purple Hearts. You know, I mean, how do you even conceptualize that? I mean, is it addictive? I mean, was he just a warrior? I mean, 9 years at war, 200 combat missions. How do you even recognize that sort of bravery? I mean, that goes beyond bravery to me, in my opinion. How do you describe that in words?
He found his place in the cosmos, and he filled that space that was meant for him. That was his space, and he had to fill that space, and there was nothing that could stop him from occupying that space. He understood who he was and what he was meant to do. That's his purpose. And is he still living, or has he passed on?
He's still living, man. He's 85, still living.
Yeah. So he found his place. He found his purpose in life.
Another thing I add to that, they just love being out there with their guys. You know, they just love that fight, because it was a sergeant major, SF sergeant major. This guy, he's a sergeant major. He's someone that's commanding guy. He no longer has to go out and do combat mission with his guys anymore. But just because he loved what he did, he would go out with these guys, and he ended up getting killed. And this is sergeant major. This is the high enlisted personnel in the Army.
Yep.
And sergeant major.
Wow.
You know, you gotta understand too that us coming from broken homes, when you join the military, you gain a family.
Yeah.
So that family you gain in the military, those brothers in arms, are sometimes more important than the family you have back home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that is a reason why you will fight to the death for that person beside you, is because you know what they're willing to do for you, and you try to do the same and more for them.
Great point. Also, particularly as we understand about Puerto Rico, and even a lot of us in America, being oppressed and reduced to less than human, you feel like you can come into your worth and value as a human being by standing for something, and being recognized and getting recognition for what you're doing, where you didn't get it among your situation you left at home.
Yeah.
So your oppression, you were actually fighting oppression, even though it might sound kind of weird to say, well, how are you going to fight oppression in a war? But a certain sense of value and satisfaction you get that he may not have been getting at home.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing I'd like to mention also, and you guys who haven't checked out, I did a whole series about Black Medal of Honor winners. And we went from Vietnam, World War II. We just did the whole military experience for Black men, starting in the Revolutionary War. One thing I noticed was that every time Black men fought in these wars, we were advanced forward in our rights, in our quest for rights. The Revolutionary War, Civil War, the Korean War was a pivotal point, because after World War II, the Black veterans got treated so badly. When they came home, the president said, no, we're going to get these boys, we're going to get these Black men right. They fought like soldiers. We appreciate them. They made a name for themselves. And that's after the Korean War was the first experiment integrating the military, because they said, no, we're not going to separate these black men into different battalions. We're not going to separate them. They fought like men. They died. They earned the right. It seems to me like every time they said, there was always some lead up to a war where we're going to keep them segregated. And then the brothers proved themselves so well in the fight that they said, man, these guys are undeniable, you know? And so my study of history is that every time black men have fought in wars, we've made advances in our rights, or civil rights, or these other things. That's what I've noticed. And so we, as the public, all Americans, but specifically black Americans, owe so much to our military veterans for your service. It's not just about you serving the country, you serve the people. Because what happens is you make your presence undeniably known. They cannot ignore you anymore. You got black soldiers, black sailors, black airmen, black Marines in these uniforms fighting on the front lines for a country that sometimes we have a very difficult relationship with, but they can't ignore the blood and the sacrifice that you all have made. And so I took the time today to have this conversation, and I wanted to do this. And again, I thank you so much on my behalf. And there's, you know, we always talk about modern men. We always talk about courage, and, you know, we look to these actors and rappers and entertainers, but our real heroes are these men on the front line. Our real heroes are these men who sign up. Our real heroes are these men who get drafted or who have been drafted into the different armed forces. That's what secretly keeps us on top. That's what allows you to be able to go to church on Sunday and pray to your God, because you don't have somebody invading your country with a rifle at your back, or taking advantage of your daughters and wives. It's that military. It's that military presence that we have all around the world. And there's a streak of anti-patriotism that runs through the black community. And it's because of the blackity blacks. And when I say the blackity blacks, I'm talking about these hoteps and the back to Africa pyramid worshiping types. But you know what? Let me tell you something. They're not going to get that rifle and stand on that wall and protect you. All they're going to do is talk about philosophy and how we should go back to Africa. But let me tell you something. If Africa had the fighting men that we have here in the United States, it wouldn't have been invaded and run over by people who had fighting men who did what it did to Africa. So I ain't trying to go back to Africa. Not figuratively. I might go visit, but what I want to do is keep this thing we got going, because we got strong fighting men, a strong tradition of fighting men in this country. And you brothers who are listening to this, you have it in you too, because all of these are your brothers. All of these, you got Kobe over here. He's a whole Army Ranger over here. and nobody knew, right? Nobody knew that he's a whole Army Ranger sitting on the couch with his hat turned back. Like, yeah, you know, it's just like making Kool-Aid. This is what I do, you know. Thank you so much, Kobe. And maybe you should have told us that. That should have been your opening line. You see what I'm saying? But no, thank you so much. Seriously, and you know, Brother Khalil, Mr. Khalil, thank you so much for what you've done and your stories. And I appreciate you coming in here. And I'll do my best to try to make us look good. You know, I'll try to do our best to make this page a place where you can come and say, this is what we want as a spokesperson, because I'm only your spokesperson.
This would be a good one for the veterans for the replay. And we don't want to forget the Coast Guard.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
sir.
Also a lot of women units and all African-American women units that served during World War II and beyond.
Yes, sir.
Showed up large. I mean, large.
They acted as nurses and all sorts of stuff. And they gave these brothers hope and wrote them letters and pen pals when they had nobody else. Yes, sir. We acknowledge that. I just try to, because the ladies get so much praise in so many different places, I don't want to parcel out this little 2 hours of time that we have for black men. And then, you know, I wanted to give our brothers their time. That's the only, but we acknowledge that the role that women played. But what I try to do on this page is just focus on black men and modern men generally, all men, but specifically black men, because we get so little praise. You would think, you know, the way you hear these lovely ladies talking about us right now, you would think we ain't fought no wars. We didn't build any towns. We ain't paid no rent, no house notes. You know, we didn't build any colleges. We didn't build any churches. You would have thought we didn't do anything the way these modern day women are talking about us. But I know better. And if y'all don't like me, great. Like me enough to look at this page. Like me enough to look at what I'm saying, and you're going to learn something. You see what I'm saying? I hope all the trolls that make videos about me, let's make a video about this page. You know what he did all day on Memorial Day? He was talking about veterans, black veterans. How dare he? That's what I want y'all to troll this. Well, this is what I want y'all to troll for me. Get the word out. You see what I mean? Let's not just focus on the foolishness. Let's actually give black men something to build on. And this is an honorable thing that you men did. So, you know, on behalf of Marine Corps, thank you, Ken, Army guys. I know we got some Navy guys and Air Force. One of my guys is always, and he ain't show up today, but that's all right. But either way, man, I'm not gonna hold y'all too much longer. I want y'all to enjoy y'all day. Anything you guys need to try to, if you wanted to try to get a page started with the military, I'll send everybody I can your way. Hell, I'll even help finance it. You know, but what I want you guys to do is just please don't be silent about your service. Please talk about it. Please, these young boys need to hear it. They need to hear about manly deeds. They need to hear about courage. You know, and it ain't bragging. You did it, Kobe. You ain't got to be humble about it. You a whole Army Ranger over there. There ain't nothing to be humble about. I appreciate you.
Experience itself was enough to humble me, but like, trust me, I can go there anytime, you know. But
you just seem like you would never know. You see what I mean? Just you would never know that this man you got Superman sitting over there on the sofa. You know what I mean?
Being humble is part of the survival. You know,
right? You got Iron Man up here with the glasses on. And then you got the black Batman sitting here with the red sweater on, looking just as looking like a happy elderly grandfather, just happy to be around. You guys are amazing men, and I salute you. You know, and anybody, like I tell you guys on this page, hell with the high value bullshit. Excuse me for cussing. Dudes that make all that money, y'all, you're not impressing me. I know it wasn't. Yeah, I know you got there. God bless you. That's wonderful. It's the military, man. It's the plumbers. It's the truck drivers who are up all night. Okay, it's the electricians. It's the guys standing on that roof, building those houses and building those buildings. These are the men that we should salute. Now, some people like to refer to these as beta males. That's bullshit. These are the men that keep this country going. These are the men who make sure that we have safety in this country for your women and children. This is what these men do. So let's just take an opportunity to thank them. If you see a veteran, if you know a veteran, if you know a man who's in the military, if you got a young kid who's thinking about it, and like the brother said, hey, if you're not, you got a college, you got a high school degree. Hell, if you got a college degree, you got that degree in sociology, go ahead and join the military. They probably make you a lieutenant or something like that. You see?
Yeah, they will.
You know, so I'm just saying there are other options out there for black men. As opposed, and get out of your mama's house, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead and grow up, see the world, be a man. My brother he'll be getting out. He'll be 26 years in the Marine Corps, you know, and he'll be getting out with all his benefits in a couple years. And they got a strict code that you have to follow, discipline, hard work, you know. And he was a little asshole when he was young, stealing his mama's car and doing all. But now he's a perfectly straight citizen, living over in Hawaii with his wife and his 2 kids. I'm proud of him. You know, I'm proud of what the Marine Corps did for my uncles and what the Army did for my cousins and my other relatives. And like I said, my granddaddy was a Marine, and I appreciate him. God bless you all. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm not going to hold y'all up too much longer. And y'all please start that page. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Good night.
Yes, sir. If you guys appreciate this, man, just hit the #1 button. Before we leave, make sure you just put something. Salute to the Army. Salute to the Navy. Hit the #1 button for our fighting men and women in the armed forces. Just hit the #1 button for them. Show your appreciation. But other than that, man, this is Uncle D. I love you guys. Dennis Sperling. It's been a great day. I've enjoyed this. Has been personally, I appreciate it. You know, thank you guys so much. As I always said this time, I'm out of here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.